G'day. I'm going to talk about an extension of the dodecahedron that I spoke on yesterday. And I realized that I said that it would have 12 sides, and it would not. If it was a prism, I think it would have 22. Although math is not my strong suit, I just see the things and then I work backwards and try to describe them. The dodecahedron would be like a stop sign, but with 12 sides. So this prism, the idea with it was that it's a holographic reflection of the contents of your inner world, and it constantly collapses or lays flat like a film, or like the world around you. The render as we go kind of simulation theory adjacent idea. And it's day 3 of my art residency program. I'm with 6 other artists, painters of various kinds, and then there's one writer. I mean, lots of people are multidisciplinary, as I would consider myself. I'm doing writing and painting and sketching. And I gave zero thought to the other people who were going to be on this trip prior to coming here. But I've been giving a great deal of thought to my goals in life with my artwork, with my career, with my healing work and spiritual work, and how I see that panning out for me in a practical sense and something that I can make real. And in addition to thinking, I've been taking it from inside my head and putting it down. So that means notes on a whiteboard, journaling, sharing ideas with confidants who feel safe to do that with. Basically, safe meaning the people who I believe and feel on a vibrational level have the least amount of likelihood to project their own, insecurities onto my process. Because in life, if we take something that we believe in, that we want for ourselves, this is a Bob Dylan quote, isn't it? And I've referenced it before. And we put it out there where others can see it or judge it, then you're basically asking for somebody to tell you that that's not realistic or not doable in some way. And it's much better to protect it, but put it out of your mind so that you can connect what's on your heart space, what you want, your intentions, with reality. That can mean like speaking it out loud or writing it down. But my point is, there are aspects to my experience here in Italy at this art residency that I could not have anticipated or had any control over, that are direct answers to what I've been wanting and needing in my life. And the first one is the caliber of people and artists that are on this trip. These are high level, top tier people in the art world. Curators for the Venice Biennale, which is international, amazing in Venice. Art show, like mind-blowing for me to meet and be able to talk to them. Gallery owners from New York City, career-making people. So I'm honored to be able to converse with them, just listen to these conversations. Sometimes I'm fearful about sounding pretentious when discussing artwork or being critical, making critical remarks against pieces of writing or art pieces. But these people are openly pretentious and I love it. I want to be just like them. There's no judgment. That's what it's about, is like relating and being able to discuss these like high level ideas. And I haven't had the space or companionship to do that at this level in a very long time. Excuse me. So that's a blessing. And why I'm talking about the dodecahedron is because I feel as if prior to the trip, there was an interstate, me talking about my art and how I want to advance myself while I'm still working a job, but wanting to do all sorts of other things and start a business and this and that and exhibit works. And those desires inside my heart, they give me passion. They don't make me feel like, oh no, like I'm not doing it yet. I'm far away from what I want. They motivate me, and that's how I know it's something to pursue, because when something resonates with you, it will fuel you and it will light you up, and there's potential there to take that energy and keep expanding it and allow the world to bring you things that you can say yes or no to, but to be open in spirit and in mind. Because in many cases, the world is only ever trying to bring you what you want. No matter who you are, no matter how conscious you are, no matter how intentional you are, you're either allowing it or you're not. So my inner state, the dodecahedron, prior to coming on the trip, it has unfurled in this very physical, real, manifested reality situation that I find myself in. And the people who I could never have hand-selected better people to be with me on this trip. I'm the youngest. Most people are in their 50s and their 60s. There's another woman who's in her 30s, and I will be 29 tomorrow on June 22nd. And then there's another gal's birthday who's on June 23rd. So we're gonna have a bash. It's funny because I have her birthday tattooed on my arm, 623, because I used to be incredibly superstitious about only seeing 622. I only wanted to see 622, but I saw 623 a lot, 622 on the clock. I saw 623 more than I saw 622, and I thought it was a bad omen, and so I decided to co-opt it and brand myself with it to basically tell the world that I make my own luck, even though it's not my birthday. So in addition to having that, I'm seeing a correlation between where I'm at in my life and my practice and what I want. I've come here to heal from some things, to release some things, to decompress outside of my normal life and workflow, but also create, reconnect with my craft. The other aspect is that there's a piano. It's a white upright piano. It's a Young Chang, and I love that kind of piano. And it's here next to the space in the studio that I am painting at. And to have that accessible for me, I've been thinking a lot prior to coming on this trip about how I want to make more. I want to paint more. I want to sing more. I want to play. I wish I had access to a piano. And I think about that a lot, but I don't let it be like, I don't have that, I wish I did. That's a bummer. It's more like, I'm excited to know that my future involves more singing, because if I'm being guided to sing more and do things like, smoke less, international cigarettes don't count, by the way, but take care of myself, because the universe, my intuition is letting me know that I want to sing by giving me urges to sing. And that, again, with the energy, the golden seed of potential, if it feels good, then it is good, right? No, it's not that simple, because things that are very toxic for people can feel good to them, but they're using it to deny other things, right? Or as vices or suppressive mechanisms. So it's more complicated than that. But from a healed place, if it feels good, then it is good. I've been almost just excited, I guess I'll put it this way. Before coming on this trip, I've just been thinking about taking my voice and my musical ability more seriously, so that I feel comfortable sharing it, because I'm very stage fright and shy about it. And then what do I have here in my manifested reality? So again, the flat plane of the dodecahedron, this experience as a mirror of my inner state, inner state, not interstate. There's a piano here. I feel like I manifested it. And I love that. So there are aspects to this that keep getting richer and deeper. I get to know these people more through conversation. And I also said, this is so funny, I said prior to coming here, this is a nod to you just can't plan things. Don't over-engineer what you intend to do, because then there's no wiggle room for the miracles to come in. I said, I'm going to be incredibly antisocial. I want to keep to myself. I will only let them know, certain sides of me. I'm not going to be my whole self, which is a silly thing to even think I'm going to do, because I can't really, I'm not an inauthentic person. I tend to be who I am no matter where I go and no matter what I do, even if it means in passing with someone at the train station. So I don't really know what I had in mind, but I wanted to be solitary so that I could focus. And it's very apparent that that's not what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to pick these people's minds and learn and become inspired by the privilege of being part of this circle of highly accomplished individuals. Like it's just such an honor. It's such an honor. I have no desire to shut myself off from them. And now perhaps music is in the plan as well. I've only been playing at night when everyone is out of the studios, although there's typically only 2 people at a time, aside from myself in there. We kind of come and go. It's a very, obviously, relaxed schedule and way of life, and I believe it is my nap time, and I'm obviously still bitten up by these bugs, so I have to go dress my welts. I need to go take a very cold shower and take a little nap. But I think over time I'm gonna try to challenge the fear that I have of singing loudly. Maybe I already talked about the piano yesterday. I genuinely can't keep up with what day it is and what's been happening, but my point of mentioning the piano again, if I did talk about it yesterday, was that it's a very specific answer to a very specific desire. I think it's empowering to know that if you want something, or if you have the intention to do something, or if you hope for something, you don't necessarily have to tell anyone. You have to tell the universe. You have to tell yourself with clarity what you want. I think it's important to describe to ourselves why we want what we want too. And an example of that for me, it would be like, well, why do you want to sing and play the piano more? It's almost like it's one of these things. I'm not gonna say I'm like phenomenal, but I have an aptitude for music. I've always been musical since I was a child. And because of that, right, it's one of the things that I was gifted that I'm able to do. And when we have gifts and we don't use them, there's this, it's like itchy. It's like a spiritual, I'm physically itchy right now as well, but everything's connected, right? It's like an ironic, like the fact that I have festering bug bites all over my body. I see it as like purging out, this itchiness that I've been dealing with for the past few months, and I would dare to say years. You can't suppress the things that God, or the universe or the creator or whoever you want to believe in gave you. No one else is like you. Absolutely no one on earth is like you. I think people that are very, very similar, of course there are people that are very, very similar in this world, but the reason why we have like norms and stereotypes is because a lot of people just kind of inherit ways of being, or, senses of style and fashion. I have an ongoing photo series which just tickles me. I think it's so funny because it's called Friends Who Dress the Same, and you'll notice that people who spend time together, or like couples, right, who have been married for a long time, they'll just end up like wearing the same thing, like both in like a mauve shirt with like jeans. And there's something to that, right? Herd mentality. Of course, from what meets the eye, people may seem similar, but be very, very different as far as how they think and what they feel, or how they're wired, what they're good at. I don't know if I said this in a video or if I was just talking to myself, but I was also talking about, I did say it in a video, but it was totally not a good video to post because I was talking about all sorts of things and kind of just for myself. I was talking about how I wish that people, it's almost like people are afraid to be good. I know that I certainly am. Like, I don't want to impose, right? I don't want to go play the piano and be like, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. That's what I've said every time I go to play, and they say, please keep playing, or they clap, after. And you don't have to apologize for being good at something. The reason why we all have different abilities, the reason why we're gifted with gifts, God gifts us with gifts and qualities and things, and then we gift the world with it. It shouldn't be like, if somebody likes a painting that I make and they say, that they love it, or it's so good. People then, you know, the taking compliments, I guess, is what it comes down to, right? Being secure enough and knowing that you can create things of value, whether or not it's objects and creations or just ideas, you know, of value, and then just take the compliments as they come to you and not be like, it's not that good, or like, I should have worked harder on it, you know. That's not the point of being a creative, conscious individual. The point is to put as much of your light, right? Again, as somebody who channels energy into artwork, it comes from the heart space. So being tuned in with my chakras, my energy system, letting new energy, fresh ideas, thoughts, energy come through me, and then out my hands onto a painting. It doesn't matter what the painting looks like. It's about the fact that it's imbued with energy that comes from a pure, and for me, a divinely inspired place. That's the mission, right? There's no expectation to that. I don't make things and then sit around waiting for people to compliment them. But I believe that it's good work. And I think we all have the potential and the capacity to identify where our gifts lie. And the key to that is just, what do you like to do? It doesn't have to be a concretely defined career path in the modern world as we know it. And I don't think that it will be, because I think a lot of the things that we are gifted at, we will have been gifted at for multiple lifetimes. This is true for myself. I resonate very deeply with like symbols and sigils and runes. I just tattooed myself for the first time in a long time. I put Fehu, the Nordic rune for wealth and abundance, and Dagas, it's the Nordic rune for like awakenings and birth and new beginnings. Like last week maybe I did this, because it's powerful to fixate on these and write them on your dominant hand. And I was writing them, I was drawing them with red ink on my hand every day, and I thought maybe I'll just save myself the trouble of doing that every morning. But I have a strong connection to my hands and making and crafting because of past life energy. And like the last 6 months for me have been full of Akashic integration, where I'm having memories from other past lives in a way that I haven't previously. Before that, it was more so things in this life, clearing karma and, you know, addressing relationships and things from this life. And then it kind of swoops deeper into this bigger part of your soul and yourself, which could be considered these simultaneous selves or lives. And again, it's why I resonate with Italy and France, because I've been here before. Like, of course, as myself in this life, I've been here before. But even when I hadn't ever been to Italy before and I came here, I was like, this place it's just familiar, you know, not because I've seen pictures of it on the internet. There's a resonance. I feel like I know how to move in these spaces. And then like ancient, like almost like Egyptian, like stonework, tablature, carving. That's part of my past life thing as well. In any lifetime that I've ever had a memory of my profession, it's writing or making or art. And then I have a lifetime of wanting to do those things but not being able to, feeling very suppressed and misunderstood. And I've had to heal that too, right? Because that could be holding me back in this life. I'm allowed to create things now, and I wasn't then. And I died before I ever could. And when I died, I was thinking I never got to make any of the things that I wanted to make. it's interesting. I think that sometimes we get to points in our lives where we have these very severe sensations. And if you're not like open-minded to this type of thinking, or if you don't believe in past lives, then you're not really going to be conscious of it. But for me, it was like this sensation, this feeling that I've had for the past 5 years of like, time is running out. Time is like, I don't have enough time to do the things I want to do, which is funny because I'm relatively young and able, and, you know, God willing, I'll live for a very long time. But I was oppressed by this sensation of not having enough time, and nobody was telling me to, you know, not do anything, or that it wasn't environmental or circumstantial. It was this soul-crushing inner feeling that at this point I look back on it and I think that in other lives I reached a point of almost getting there, almost being able to make the thing, or speak my truth, or I don't know, attain a fulfilling partnership or relationship. But then I died, right? Or the lifetime ended. And that's not where I'm at, right? So there's a lot of bleed through, is what I've called it before, from different simultaneous selves that can affect you in a very real way. Like again, I'm very into my hands, but I have something called finger fear. I don't know if I've talked about this in other videos. I've had it for years and years and years. Years and years and years. Since I was a small child, I've had what I call finger fear, which is that throughout the day, throughout the week, this probably happens between 5 and like 20 times in a week. I just get the sensation of my fingers being absolutely snapped, like brutally snapped, like where you wouldn't want them to be snapped, like in between the knuckles, or sometimes it's like compression from above that just splinters all the bones in my fingers, and I feel it so viscerally that I will like gasp out loud as if I'm in pain, because on some level it does hurt me. Like my fingers are fine, but I end up, you know, clenching my fists or something in order to kind of process it, let the moment pass. What's even more bizarre is that sometimes it lasts for like a whole hour. Like I won't be able to shake it. I'm just kind of suffering with it and feeling like I'm under attack, basically. And I think that this has to do too with bleed through, right? That's not my reality, but there's something that I'm connected to. Like I used to make a joke and say, like, if I'm being held hostage in a different dimension, like a different version of myself, then they are doing some weird finger torture on a very regular basis to that version of me. And that's not true. I don't believe that. I don't own that. I don't claim that reality at all. Nobody has me captive and I'm not being tortured. But I think there's another life that I have that goes back to, like, I don't know, being a woman in society who was, you know, cast out or called a witch, being feared, and then being not killed, but having my hands smashed. And that's not the feeling that I get. I don't get a feeling of my hands being smashed. I get a brittle splintering and a breaking of bones. But there's something to that. That's what I'm saying. I guess I'm saying all this to say that if there's something that's like irrational, a fear that you have that you shouldn't have, like, you know, there's a reason why a lot of people are afraid of heights or water or fire. It's because those are all common ways to have died. Another one I could share is like, and I'm embarrassed about this. I don't tell people this because then it becomes this weird talking point and I don't know how to get off of the topic. So I just avoid it entirely, but I have a fruit phobia. It's very unusual. Even when I was a baby, my parents couldn't get me to eat fruit. I take supplements, so I'm nutritionally fine, so don't worry about it, but it repulses me. I've never had a banana, I've never had an orange, I've never had an apple. I remember being probably 8 years old and sitting down at the table with my mom and my brother, and they were like, "You're gonna do this." And I ate an apple piece and I was like, it is not for me. Texturally, like those little tendrils that you can get like in the orange, and then like the banana tendrils, I don't like that. And I didn't know why that was for a long time. I mean, hopefully throughout my life I'll kind of get over it and be able to eat fruit because, you know, people say that it's really good. I don't think it is. I don't even want to be near it. I'm actually uncomfortable if somebody's eating fruit near me, but that's a very common thing that happens in life, especially in like, you know, summer, warm weather. And I just have to play it cool. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I aspire to grow out of this, because one of the reasons why we remember, or why a person would want to remember past lives and integrate some of the karma, you could call it, or unhealed, unfinished things, integration of the self and the soul. Why you would want to do that is because then you can free yourself of things that are limiting you or holding you back, and move forward as a more evolved version of yourself, a more authentic expression of how your soul wants to be arriving in this incarnation. I'm not really sure that I'm limiting myself by not eating fruit, but perhaps I could be, you know, much healthier and much happier if I liked it. But I digress. The past life that connects to, I don't know where in the world. I want to say like Saudi Arabia. Definitely the Middle East, which may or may not be Saudi Arabia, whatever. I'm not the best at geography either, but one of the stands maybe. This is like a while ago in history too, so I'm not sure if the territories in the Middle East as they are labeled now were the same in this like memory for me. But I didn't come about this recollection on my own. It didn't present itself to me. I worked with a healer. Her name's Emily Pompey. She's located in Pittsburgh, and she's gifted, and she's helped me a lot in my life as a spiritual mentor and a healer who conducts past life regressions and helps me clear out energy blockages. For instance, my knees, I have an arthritic condition that's hereditary, so it's a bloodline thing. I've inherited it from my mother, my mom's mom, and it creates a lot of inflammation and discomfort and instability and pain. I live with chronic pain in my knees due to that. And one may say, well, you have to go, you know, do your physical therapy, this and that. Well, there's also an energetic component to it that has to do with healing my bloodline so that I can heal my knees and not pass this down to my child. Anyway, I asked about the fruit thing, and we ended up doing something of a past life regression, which can be like remote viewing. It is like in the what people call like the 5D, being able to go into kind of a trance-like state and walk through montages, really, of seeing yourself and things as they unfold. So this is what I saw, was being a boy, and I died young. I had a short life. A boy, and I lived in poverty, and my family, or my parents, I think that they died pretty young too. We all died. It was not a good life. It was hard. And our business was a fruit stand, and everything was always decaying. And we didn't have a lot of food, and I had to eat a lot of that fruit, even if it was past its due date. And that, like, I think about that, and now, because I've done the past life regression, I can kind of go back in and see visuals. I can see like like a street, and shop fronts, and where the little cart, the fruit cart, was located, and like the sun and the things rotting. It's very, very visceral, and it gives me, I get goosebumps saying it, which, if you don't know, chills are kind of confirmation from spirit about things that you're talking about. They can be confirmation, like if you're listening to somebody and you get chills, it means it resonates with you. Or if I'm talking to myself or channeling information, it can be confirmation for me. But my point through saying all of this is to not shut down certain feelings or thoughts in your mind, because they probably do have a root. Just because you don't understand why you feel a certain way doesn't mean that it's not valid. All of your feelings are valid. I'm not saying that if I think somebody's being like a jerk, that I'm right and they are a jerk. It means that something within me is being triggered, and there's a valid component of that, and it could be on me to take a deeper look at something within myself and then course correct. And I have learned something. Whether or not, and of course, if somebody's being disrespectful to you, then you would be valid in feeling that way. But the most mystical or mystifying or confusing, hard to register, and I was saying before, we may not be we most of the time are not conscious or cognizant of these things, I think, because, or we don't clock them as they arise. These foreign, potentially past life, bleed through things, memory, like sensations. I just want to say emotions that you have that don't seem to accurately pertain to what you're dealing with. Excuse me. That is worth honoring. If you don't know what to do with it, if you say like, well, maybe, yeah, I do have something that is this feeling that I feel like I'm responding to in my mind and in my emotional self, but I don't really get how it fits into my life. Like for example, my feeling like time is running out for me. Then ask yourself before you go to sleep, ask your higher self, or just voice aloud, please show me what I am meant to know from this feeling. Please show me what I am meant to understand. Please help me heal the part of me that needs to heal in order for this to be released. A lot of the times you can't release something without processing it, which is the reason why a lot of people are averse to healing, not to mention kind of the stigmatized thing around it. I mean, spiritual healing in truth is just being like a warrior in your life. You're not afraid to acknowledge things as they are, and you're not afraid to be vulnerable and open and look at yourself and want to improve and want the best for everybody. I mean, it's not spiritual healing. I think it's just like integrity and living a good life, which is why I try to use a lot of universal language and take things outside of the rainbow unicorn sphere, even though that's my, home. I love it in there, the rainbow unicorn sphere, just all the flowery language and the glitter and the sparkly parts of a spiritual practice. For me, that's all about just like, how can things be the most beautiful? Because the thing that can't be put into words, the thing that can't be put into a painting, just like, as I see it, God, force, life, energy, this rainbow iridescent, like this purity. It's how I protect my energy fields. I connect to it and then I put it around me like a cocoon. It's how I help other people. I wash people with it, clear people with it. It's a matter for me. It's a material for me. I want to honor it by making things beautiful in my life to reflect the connection that I feel to that energy. And I mentioned it's a matter, weaving. I have seen spider totems coming up today. So I saw lizards and a hummingbird yesterday. Today it's all about spiders. I had one here with me when I started the video, and I was sitting, I'll post pictures of these. I didn't know really what I was doing, but I know now that they're sigils for clearing the chakras. So they're just doodles, they're not gonna look like much, but each one connects with each chakra. So the one that's done in like primarily red tones is for the root, and then orange for the sacral, orange for the sacral, yellow for the solar plexus, green for the heart, blue for the throat chakra, purple for the third eye, and I used a mix of colors for the crown because I see the crown as like white, silvery. It's much less about the lines and the colors. Well, it is about the colors, but it's about the energy that's imbued into each of them. And I intend to, I think we'll see how the week and my life takes me. I'm here for 2 weeks, actually. I'm getting a phone call. I don't know how I'm getting a phone call. I turned off my cell phone plan. Still getting phone calls. You just can't escape. I could drop the phone altogether, but how would I take pictures of the beautiful landscape if I did that? They are intended to be meditated on You think about the sensation in your root chakra, which is base of spine, safety, security, red, garnet, glowing, looking at the image and allow it to clear and stabilize and recalibrate that energy on your behalf. That's the function of them. I'm gonna meditate with them later. I'll post them in this video, like at the end maybe, or maybe I'm gonna post-process. Maybe they'll already be on the screen at this point. Who knows? I don't know how I'll do it. No, I'll put them at the end. But I was drawing and I had a tickle sensation. And I've got hair that's kind of always, it's breezy out. It's also just incredibly hot. I can't see the phone because there's a glare, but I'm sweating profusely constantly because it's so hot. So like drips of sweat, my hair, I was like not really moved to address the tickle, but it got to my chin, like it wasn't dripping, it was ascending. And I go like this and it's a big brown spider that had been crawling up my chest and my neck, and it got to my face and I was like, oh my God. But the energy of spider spirit is with me today, as it is on all days, but I'm thinking about it more because I've been seeing them. I think that about covers it for this afternoon. It's definitely time for me to go take a cold shower and address my bug bites and then take a little nap. But to recap, just being really conscious of the dodecahedron that you inhabit, because like I'm just blown away by the opportunity that I'm receiving and how much of an answer to my prayers beyond what I could have, asked for. This is. Oh my God, there's another lizard and he's coming at me. You have a cropped tail, little guy. What happened? He turned around. That's point number one. Point number two is about funny feelings or sensations about past lives. There's also something in this 37-minute long video that just speaks to the importance of what you consume. So I'm thinking about symbols again, Nordic runes, if you resonate with Norse energy. The sigils are like the root chakra, the chakra series that I just did. Even if it's you writing down like, I want to buy a house. Maybe that's something you want to do. I want to, now I'm thinking about how a lot of people in life just want to make more money because money is a very freeing or limiting factor. But I'll have to talk about that another time. It gets confusing because we have to want things from a pure and healed place. It's okay to want financial freedom and safety and security. That's root chakra, by the way. Manipura is what it's called. Your finances are directly related to your root chakra. So if you're ever having issues with your finances, you need to work on your root chakra and grounding, because it is that fundamental, right, almost primal sense of security, safety, and stability. And how you would work on that is you would focus on, there's a very different feeling, like when your bank accounts are overflowing and you're comfortable and you know that you could, if anything happened, if there was an emergency, if you needed something, you could get it. There's a feeling that you have inside if you're in that position. And so you can put yourself into that feeling by imagining what it would be like to feel that way and have that limitless ability to kind of manifest it into being. I take issue with the way that people just vast expressions of wealth today. I think it's really unhealthy. I think it's really unhealthy the way that the music industry, everybody, like, not everybody, but I really like pop music. I do. And it's all about like, I've got 6 Lamborghinis and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't need those really at all. So many people are like, I made it and now I have to go tell all my haters and everyone who ever doubted me. And it's like, that's not very, healed of you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. If you're a musician and you're gifted, then you can buy 6 Lamborghinis if you want them. But really, you should focus on, spreading the energy of your heart out, your light, your God-given gifts and talents with the collective or the world, because that's what you were put on the earth to do, not to stuff it in anyone's face. That means you haven't, forgiven enough. Anyway, that was a tangent. But the nature of filling there's a vineyard down there, and they're mowing the lawn, I guess. I don't know. They're tilling the vines. So excuse me if it's a little loud in the background at this moment, but if your essence is a dodecahedronic prism, again, think like a little box of origami, but it's like iridescent. And there's a zipper seam. It can all lay flat and come out from you, all around you. And it is doing that. And then it's almost like a multiplicity thing. Like all stages of this thing that I'm describing are happening all at once. So all at once you have an inner state and it's reflecting all around you. Flashlight analogy that I've used in other videos, like your current point, your current inner world is the bulb. The projection, that beam, that's the path that your life would take if you held the inner state, right? If I have a flashlight and it's shining on a wall, this is the future. This is what it's going to be like to get there. But this is why, things don't go to plan, because we have a hard time as humans with egos, which is, again, the ego's not to be killed, right? You can't do that. We all have needs and wants and desires. We're spirits having a human experience, so we're meant to kind of get to know our own egoic patterns and, decide whether or not we want to carry them on. Again, with spiritual healing, it's just the nature of committing to your own self-growth to try to be a good person and be a good person for the people's lives that you touch and impact. We have a hard time holding a perfectly pure vibration because of our humanness, and that's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to go to plan. It means that there's going to be unexpected things. There always will be. And sometimes that can be incredibly favorable, like me being with these incredible humans that I get to learn from and potentially, form life-changing relationships with, as well as the presence of a piano. Or they could be disappointing things that manifest in your life. And what I'm getting at is that even if you don't ascribe an effect to a certain cause, even if you don't want to take accountability, in other words, for certain things in your life because you completely have nothing to do with it, still look inside the dodecahedronic prism to try to find correlation, I guess, and kind of reassess and be like, am I abundantly negative? This person who bothers me, am I constantly just thinking about how much they bother me? Because guess what? You're probably gonna notice it more than ever. Sometimes you have to go through a phase of letting things bother you deeply to just become done or over the act of letting them bother you. So there's the other thing, and this is like a spiritual, it's a confusing thing in the spiritual community. Spiritual snafu, a caveat or exception or whatever, is like, if things aren't going well, again, I'm thinking root chakra, like if there's financial blocks, it doesn't mean you're not where you're supposed to be. Sometimes that means that things are recalibrating and clearing out and shifting on your behalf and saying like, I'm, fucked up or my life is wrong. That's only going to put you down farther. So you might as well empty, like a watering can, the dodecahedron, and fill it up with pure positive thoughts, things that do inspire you. And that could be, it doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm going to make lists of things I want to change. It could just be connecting with something that puts you into a higher vibrational state, like music or art or writing or just relaxing. Relaxing is so underrated. The Europeans get it. Life was meant to be lived slowly and preciously, because every moment is equal, right? They're all equally weighted. And a lot of us live our lives like a bunch of moments don't matter, because that's, the time spent at work or whatever. And then we get these little escapes where we can finally enjoy what we've worked for. Don't postpone joy. Don't postpone joy. If there's anything that's heavy in your energy field, you can surrender it at this time, and I'll wash it away remotely with my little incense clearing. You can release it. You can imagine it like a balloon, if it could be visualized as a light object. If not, see it as a weight, like an anvil, sinking through the crust of the earth into the hot core center of the earth, and being immediately liquefied away. I wonder if I'm getting sunburnt. I should probably wear more sunscreen. This is the tricky thing about being a sensitive skinned lady, is that I have to, now that I'm aware that there's so many bugs in the area, I have to constantly wear bug spray, and I don't like the way that feels. It puts a film on my skin and I'm sticky. And then I sweat a lot, so that it's not great either. But in keeping with the theme of my messaging today, I have so much more to be grateful for than to complain about. Let it always be the case. Amen.